from the share some important introduction, and then people will
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be in Sanniquellie. I lived here many years ago, going to school as a young man. I would say as a young boy. I attended St. Mary's elementary school, then I went to the high school, and I went on to graduate from St. Mary's. It's always a joy to come back home. As I was saying in the hall today when I was paying tribute to my dear friend and brother, Joseph Korto, a lot of people don't know where I come from in Nema County. Because I stay here so long, they think that I hail from this part of Nema. No, I don't come from here. I come from Lao Clan, Nema County. It's beyond Ganta. Well, it was a privilege to have come here to know this part of Liberia. So I'm happy to be here. Today, we've been here, as you know, carrying on the funeral service of Dr. Korto.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, another poem. Yes?
Yes. Wehyee-Dorlea, Yarsuo Wehyee-Dorlea. I went to school here too with Korto and Francis and Fred. Fred, what were you in that time?
I think I was 2 years below you.
You were in the 8th grade. Yeah.
No.
It's 7th grade.
What year are you talking about?
69.
69, I think 6th grade.
6th grade. Oh man, you were way down. Yeah. So I started school with Korto. He was my classmate. Francis was one class ahead of us. Yeah, and 69. And at that time, we our class do the national exam that year, 1969. But you know, when you have somebody like Joseph Korto as your classmate, there's a big competition. So I'm glad to be here to talk about him. Fred?
Well, my name is Frederick Norkeh, and Dr. Korto and I hail from the same community. I have known him even before the St. Mary years, and he was a wonderful man. He was someone that didn't think about this person not being related to me, or this person is from another place or a different tribal person. When I recently came from, not recently, excuse me, when I came from the US in 2007, I stopped with Korto for almost 3 months without asking for a dime. He was a wonderful man. And what I like about him is he was extremely competitive.
Yeah.
Even those of us that were in lower class and then, they used to have a stiff competition. And the competition really was between few people, two of which are here. Before Francis was in a class ahead of Dorlea.
Yeah.
So Francis' category was different, then Dorlea's category was different. And they was extremely competitive. So that's how I knew him, and even all these years, he have maintained that competitiveness.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that is a welcome. Well, actually, a lot of people who are listening to the radio now will be very interesting, more especially from the historical aspect of your connection as friends from that youth of time. Okay, could we just get to the Chief Justice? I know he knows a lot, and they are all very personal friends. Honor, could you just tell us when you came to Sanniquellie at the time, the year you came to Sanniquellie, then you as a student, then how was the entire, in fact, the condition, the economic condition of the city? How was it look like? Then what also, and how you guys were able to bear together as friends? Could you just tell us where you live at the time when you lived in Sanniquellie in these days?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I came here, my father brought me. He was an old man, 20 wives, plenty children, but he had a keen sense of goodness. He wanted quality education. So when he decided that I should leave Queen, where I had started elementary school, to come and go to school here in the 5th grade, we first stopped at Central High. And he said, "No, okay, this is a government school. Let's look." We saw Baptist school. He said, "Oh, that school is so small." We went and saw Dolo school. He said, "Let's check some more." We went around Tile, standing there. He saw St. Mary's, well painted, everything is sparkling. He said, "That place up there, the people told him, said that school is where I want you to go to." So we walked past the market and we got there. So he was waiting for the principal at the time. We waited for a while. Then came a young priest riding a bicycle, a cassock white, and a red hat on his head. So he said, "Well, I don't want to send you to Madigo school." So the person said, "No, they're not Madigo school, they're not Madigo man. That's a Catholic priest." He said, "This is the school I want you to go to." He sat down. The old man, as I told you, I'm many wives, 5 to be exact. And my siblings, about 25, I didn't even know all of them at the time. So he sold his coffee, sold his little rubber, sold his cocoa. As I said, he believed in quality education. So he impressed, at the time, Father Francis. How much is the school fee? He paid the school fee down. What's about uniform? He pay it down. Do we buy books here? He pay it. So the priest was under the impression that my father was very rich. He could afford school fees and so forth. That will come to haunt me later on when I made grades, and then so that I can get LAMCO scholarship. You will say, "No, you let's wait, let the people the children who need it most get it because your father is capable of paying your fee." But that wasn't the case. Eventually, he understood that my father could not afford with 25 children to be able to pay my fees and so forth. Now, when I got here, I didn't have scholarship. He could not afford to put me on a boarding school at St. Mary's. I stayed in town for 1 year. And I used to stay with a friend of his. To cut a long story short, eventually I made a grade and he understood that I needed help in terms of scholarship. And that's how I got scholarship from LAMCO when he submitted my name to go on campus. And this is where I met Joe Korto. And we clicked. As I said today, when two persons' chemistry, fit, when you see each other, you have an idea that you will become friends, and that friendship will grow and will prosper into greater things. This is where I met Joe Korto. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I guess the maybe you're in the lower qualified.
Yeah. Like Sanniquellie at the time,
Yeah.
I had never gone to school in Nima in the first place. Okay. When I left my father, I left my father's school. We used to go to school. My father's school. My father was primary chief for life. Okay. And we used to go to school in his school house. And the highest grade, infant reader. They hired a guy for the Green Coast. Ghana, Cape Coast. They were teaching us. And I got the infant reader. And we went to Monrovia. From there, I was always going to Monrovia to school. But when I graduated from 6th grade. From 8th grade, I wanted to go to Catholic school so bad. Because I was tired of government school now. I wanted to go government school all my life. I passed the St. Patrick's test, but my brother Peter D.Z, may so rest in peace. He said, "Look, I already owe somebody school fee. your brother's school fees is St. Patrick. If you want to go to Kelly school, then go Nimba. That's how I came to Sanniquellie. And I never liked to come. I didn't know Nimba. And I had never come to Sanniquellie at the time. So I came to Sanniquellie. Long story short, I came to the Central High because the Peace Corps guy that he sent me to, the guy was teaching at Central High. But I didn't like the place. So this one day, and this is how I met my friends. I saw the church. I said, "Oh, okay." I used to be a big altar boy in St. Patrick's in Monrovia. So this Sunday, I said, "Okay, I'll go to church. I'll go to sacristy." I went there. I saw two of them getting ready. I said, "I want to join you. I don't want to serve mass." My mayor said, "You can't leave." I said,
"What you know about the church?"
What you know? I said, "I can't." But long story short, that's where we met. And from that time, we went through here. And Sanniquellie was a bustling, you asked how it looked like.
Yeah.
It was a bustling place. It was beautiful. I mean, it almost, Sanniquellie was looking like a museum. Everywhere was clean. People took pride in painting their houses. And the street, the street, you see, that's where all the big people walk in the evening hour. That was the place to be. You see, for big people. So Sanniquellie was nice. And maybe Frank can add to what I'm saying.
Well, actually, I knew Korto a lot earlier than both of you.
Yeah.
Korto's uncle was living in Bapa, and Korto had been sent there along with Helena, his younger sister, to live with Omenta Dan to go to school. That's where we met. And then I left. We went to Baba Public School. And one day my father told me that he wanted me to go to another school because he was not comfortable with Baba Public School. My father was not educated, but for some reason he knew I was standard. And I was shocked. Only later on I discovered where he was coming from. So he took me to St. Mary's. Believe me or not, the school fees were $12. Mm-hmm. And I attended St. Mary's from 2nd grade all the way to 8th grade when I left St. Mary's. But during the time of my years on St. Mary's, it is the most formative time of my life. Yeah. All what I have the foundation from St. Mary's. St. Mary's was very competitive. We used to do the national exams. Mm-hmm. We become very competitive, and we would receive gifts from the school. In fact, school was almost like a competition. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, Central High, supposed to be a government school, was also competitive. Yeah. But not as competitive as we were, obviously, that's what I would say. But they used to do the national exam in 6th grade, 9th grade, 12th grade. Mm-hmm. It was almost something that was expected. And we were taught by a lot of Peace Corps volunteers, some of whom were able to help a lot of the students. In fact, I'll tell you a story one time that they kicked me out of school because I didn't have $12. My parents didn't have that. So I left, I went to Bapa. Bishop Francis heard it, and he came to Bapa, he took my stuff. He said, "One white man came and took your clothes." I said, "Who was that?" I said, "Fala." That's how I came back to Sanniquellie to go get my clothes from Father Francis. And he said, "Well, the mission is failed. I cannot put you there. However, go and find a place. I will help you for the first few months, but I will help you so that the food, these are what they call careful, mm-hmm. Weeks and flowers. That was just as important as rice. So that's how he was giving me wheat, flowers, and my parents would send little rice here and there. And I did that for a few years, and then I decided that I should go to another school, which is, I left, I went to Monrovia. Took me a greener pasture, I attended Boston Junior High. After a year, and St. Mary's was so competitive that even when I went to Boston Junior High, everything I was doing was a repetition of what I